Hi, I'm Mark Walker, and today we're going to talk about bullet seating depth. About 20 years ago or so, maybe a little longer, I stopped jumping the bullet to the lands, and I find that my groups are better and more consistent. I have more forgiveness in the rifle. If it's set up properly, you're not going to stick a bullet in the bore when you go to unload the rifle or anything like that. It's not hard to do. You don't need any special tools. There's several reasons I do that. I want bullet to bore alignment to be perfect. I don't want it cocked with an ejector button, and I don't want it sagging to the bottom of my chamber either. And it also takes a certain amount of pressure to get that bullet moving that's already parked against the lands anyway. You know, it just kind of helps balance things out more. So anyway, we're going to get started and find this rifle's bullet seating depth. Okay, we've got a 6.5 Creedmoor case here. I've already full length sized it. I don't really want to stick a bullet in the barrel. If I do, it's not the end of the world. We tap it out with a cleaning rod and we start over. It's easy, you know. But the way to keep it from really wanting to stick is use some sizing wax. I don't really care what kind you use. I bet regular old grease would even work. But I'm going to rake off plenty of it on the case mouth here. I'm going to jump it over the expander ball. I can feel it right there. I'm going to do that just a few times here, and that's going to stretch it out slightly. And put a little bit more on here to make up our dummy round. Okay. Next, our seating die. Now I've already adjusted the main body of it, but not the stem here. Maybe I did earlier. Okay. So I'm going to back the cedar stem all the way off. And now I've got a bullet here. I'm going to start that in, run this all the way up to the top. I'll spin my stem back down. There, I felt it contact the nose of the bullet there. Okay, now I'm going to give it a little more here and get that bullet started in the case. But I'm not going to seat it very far. I'm going to leave it right there like that. And I'm going to use the action on the rifle to seat this back, and we're going to keep playing with this. Now we've got the bullet barely started here in the case neck. And we've got this good and greased up on the inside of the neck, so that bullet's going to slip in there. So I'm going to put that in chamber. Right here, I've got to go ahead a little bit before I can lock it. Okay. Now it's locked. Let me get rid of this magazine here. Alright, we're going to extract. See, it didn't stick because we put the grease in there. We've done this without doing that, and often it'll stick the bullet in the barrel. But that grease and the lightening that really helps. Now, I don't like to cut a groove here like people say in the manuals and put a bullet in here, because when I extract, it pulls my bullet back out a little bit in the case, gives me a false reading. So anyway, that's why I like to do it this way here. So we're going to go back over to the press now. Alright, I've got rifling marks on the bullet right now, and they're elongated because I had to actually force that in the rifling. It'd be hell to see it right now. And it's going to look like this, you know, a rectangle going up it. And that's way too much jam. That's a recipe for sticking it in the rifle. What we want is about 1/3 the height that the landmarks are wide. Now, if you have a worn barrel, this has been shot a few times, and sometimes the way the throat's cut, you'll get a real narrow rifling mark like that. You don't necessarily have to have that 1/3 the height that it is wide, like on a worn one. It can be a little bit more, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But now we're gonna run this all the way up in the press, and I'm gonna spin my cedar stem down, and right there I feel firm contact. I'm looking at my screw here. I'm gonna move that in about another 1/8 of a turn. I'm gonna go ahead and seat it. Okay. Here's the special tool you need right here. It's called steel wool. I'm gonna erase the marks on the bullet with the steel wool. And all we're doing is we're shortening up this landmark. Or this landmark here. And we're wanting it to be, down here, like if in comparison, of course. We don't want a square lug mark like that. If we have that, that's a recipe for sticking it in your rifle. Too much jam. Okay, so anyway, we're going to work it down and get this to where we're barely leaving a mark on it. To where we're 1/3 or 1/4 of the height, So we'll go back over to the rifle. I'm going to lock that in, and we'll bring it back and we'll see if we can see the landmarks again. We're taking another look here at it. We'll try to get this on the camera where you can see these marks here, and then we're gonna shorten them up, but they're still too long yet. Okay, here's the landmarks. You can see that I'm still above square. It's still a bit of a rectangle, so we're gonna bring that back down some. Hopefully the camera's picking that up, but we're going to go ahead and seat it in the press again and erase the marks one more time. Alright, we've taken the bullet, I'm going to put it back in here. I'm going to give this maybe 1/8 of a turn. If you overdo it and the marks go away, it's no big deal. You can start over, it's not hard to do. Right here we're going to seat a little bit more. I'm going to take my steel wool and erase those marks. Okay, sit tight, I'll be right back. Okay, it looks like we're getting close to a square. I'm going to give it a little more. Notice I'm not even bothering tightening the jam nut, the lock nut here. See that? Erase it again. And the bolt's closing far easier at this point. Okay, now the marks are actually getting a little bit thinner, but we're still elongated, which I don't really like. This is an unfired factory rifle, but the way the thing's throated or whatever, it has a narrower look to it here, but we're still the square. We're still not good and shallow yet. So the rifle probably run right there, but we're going to bring it down some more because it's got to be safe. So we're going to bring it down again a little bit. Seat it again. Erase the marks. And chamber in the rifle again. It's going a little bit easier. I'll take another look here. Now we're getting really close. I'm going to give it a little bit more here. This bullet seating depth is going to be where my first load is. Now I know if the barrel's okay and the action is true and square, this rifle is going to shoot pretty darn good if I have the right powder charge in this. And I love getting against the lands because I'm testing that first bullet seating depth, and I'm going to get my powder charge about right to where it's shooting its best. I've only got 2 more bullet seating depths to test, because I'm going to be somewhere between touching and about a 10,000ths jam, which would be about a third or quarter of the way up the landmark here, like that bottom line. And so I don't have to hunt all over hell for the right depth, you know. If I was at 20,000ths off, I wouldn't know whether to go further away from the lands or closer to it. Well, now I know I can't go closer to the lands because I've already jammed about 10,000ths. So there's only one way that I'm going to run that cedar stem to make the load come into tune. So we'll try this in the rifle again. Alright, take another look. Now we're getting down there to where we're about square. It's just going to take a hair more. Oh, right there. This is actually a pretty fast method to get there. Okay, one more. That's looking real good, or I could give it a hair more jam. We'll get the camera on this, and hopefully it'll pick it up and you can see it. I think I might have went a hair too far, but yeah, I'm still against the rifle and I can see it fine. So let's get a shot of that. Wait, here we are. I seated this a hair too far. I'm going to go ahead and back up the die just a crack, but we're probably looking at about a 5,000ths jam right here at this point. And you could unchamber this all day long and it will not stick in, you know, you won't stick a bullet in the bore at all. So I'm going to back this up, give it a hair more jam, and then I'm going to lock the die down right there. And that's going to be our first test load out of this factory Ruger Hawkeye 6.5 Creedmoor. So anyway, we're going to back up the stem and we're going to leave it there. Okay, what I've done is I put a red felt mark in line with the screw slot that last go around, and I felt like I was just a little bit too far away from the lands. I mean, I'm in them, but I mean, I want a little bit more jam. I'm just going to move that slightly left of that mark right there, and I'm going to lock this lock nut down, and that's going to be my first test load. And I forgot to mention, another good way to do is you can literally look at this mark when you're seating bullets, the screw slot, and you can turn it a quarter turn and take your dial calipers and measure that whole cartridge, and you can tell how many thousandths of an inch you're seating it by moving that each quarter or eighth turn or whatever. But anyway, right here is going to be my very first bullet seating depth for this rifle for our testing purposes. So anyway, that's about it, and we'll see you guys later.